PFF, they ranked every NFL roster, every single one. And when they ranked Philadelphia #1, it was interesting. Their biggest strength, they said, was defense. And their biggest weakness, Jalen Hurts in the passing game. And PFF is right. Despite the best O-line in the league, the best running back in the league, arguably after Cincinnati, the best wide receiving combo in the league, excellent tight ends, and offensive head coach. Two things can be true. Jalen Hurts was incredible against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And he had fewer touchdown passes last year than Geno Smith, and the same as Kirk Cousins. Jalen Hurts last year with a stacked roster, to me, is Brock Purdy 2 years ago in San Francisco with a stacked roster. That doesn't make you an A-plus quarterback. Mahomes winning back-to-back Super Bowls with the worst receiving core arguably in the league is A++. Joe Burrow getting to a Super Bowl with the 18th ranked defense and an atrocious O-line. That's an A++ Super Bowl. If you have a better roster, contextualize. It's important to remember with quarterbacks, and this is a real thing. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl over Brady and Belichick. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Dan Marino never did. Dak Prescott, before he signed his big contract, when he had the best running back in the league, Zeke, arguably, absolutely the best offensive line, offensive coach, good tight end, everybody was like, Dak is A++. You know who thought that too? Jerry Jones. And he overpaid for him.
You know who didn't win a Super Bowl? Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy, with those stacked rosters with great run games, and Christian McCaffrey and Zeke and O-Lions and defenses. They didn't win a Super Bowl, did they? No. Weird. 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 Weird how that works. There is so much wrong here. There is just so much wrong here. I don't even know where to begin. I really don't. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try my best to be calm during this. Okay? Be calm. We're going to be chill. We're going to be chill. No, we're not, because it's insane. First off, in what world in 2022 did Patrick Mahomes have the worst receiving? Oh my God. Are we pretending like Travis Kelce does not exist? What are we doing here? This is so Travis Kelce, literally top 2 in the NFL, under just 2 touchdowns under Devontae, with most touchdowns. Okay. Offensive rating, 1 point below. Tyreek Hill, you know, the other wide receiver that used to be with the Kansas City. Differences here. Minuscule differences here, not to mention, obviously, the long-established relationship with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. And then again, we got Juju, 933 yards. Devontae, 0-0. Again, we're talking about with a couple hundred, and Juju played 1 less game. Juju played 16. Devontae played 17. I mean, it's just comically absurd right now. It really is. Chiefs. So at one point he had the best receiver 1 and 2, and you know what? Tyreek Hill, tight end. It's all the same thing with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. You know, we know how the game has evolved with these pass catchers at this point, and seems like a pretty big deal to me. Okay, I mean, it's just absurd. It really is. Who do you think led the NFL on Yak in 2022? Is that Travis Kelce? Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I don't believe it. What about reception percentage? You know, the percentage of balls that are caught per target. Is that Juju Smith-Schuster? Oh my goodness. Wow. 933 yards. I guess that's nothing, right? I guess that's nothing. Weird. I mean, do you see these numbers? Travis Kelce, 1,300 yards. A.J. Brown, 1,400 yards. A.J. Brown, 11 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 12 touchdowns. We're talking about minuscule. I mean, Juju had a better reception percentage than Cooper Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Godwin, Travis Kelce, Stefon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb. We're just going to keep pretending like he's just like some absolute bottom of the barrel scrub. And you know what's so interesting? Oh, the Eagles had the best defense in the world, apparently, I guess, in 2022. And also in 2024. But the Chiefs, they had a bottom barrel defense. That's so weird. They gave up 21.7 points. The Eagles 20.2. So just a little over a point. That's crazy. So We're talking about roughly about a point difference, and that was just some bottom of the barrel defense. Weird. Also, that defense seemed to be pretty good in the playoffs against the Jags and the Bengals, only giving up 20 points each. Weird, 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 weird. And you say back-to-back Super Bowls, but in 2023, they gave up 17 points a game. 17 points. As I keep talking about, 7 points against the Miami Dolphins, 10 points against the Baltimore Ravens, and then they beat the stacked roster of the 49ers, who Colin just said doesn't have a good quarterback. So why is that impressive? Doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. And the Kansas City Chiefs in 2022 had a better offensive line than the Philadelphia Eagles did in 2024. Like, what do you want? Do you understand that? Do you seriously? Can we understand that? In that Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes was pressured 11 times. 11 times and no sacks. Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl, where he had the greatest O-line in the history of the universe, was pressured 10 times. Music. That's so weird. I mean, I don't recall anyone talking about that fortress of an O-line with the Kansas City Chiefs that had a 75% pass block win rate. The Eagles 67% in 2024. Music. So weird. So very weird. Jalen Hurts also missed a few games, and yet he was top 8 in total touchdowns. Pretty sure that matters. And it's pretty a safe bet that if he didn't get knocked out of the one game and then miss a couple others, he would have been top 5. I don't think that's that much of a stretch. So he would have been top 5 in total touchdowns. Would have been up there with Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, and Jared Goff, with his stacked offensive roster. And in what universe is Brock Purdy going, having a 60% completion percentage, 255 yards, 6.7 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, a 73.9 offensive rating, and a passer rating of 89.3. The same thing as Jalen Hurts having a 71.1 completion percentage, throwing for over 300 yards, rushing for over 70 yards. I think it was 4 total touchdowns if memory serves me correctly, a 92.2 offensive rating, 5 big-time throws, and a passer rating of 103.4, as well as in 2024 having over 300 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 10.10 yards per pass attempt, a 77.3 completion percentage, an 86.7 offensive rating, a passer rating of 119.7. I mean, like, how is any of this even remotely the same? 4 big-time throws. Brock Pye, 0 big-time throws. I go through Dak Prescott Super Bowl stats, but they do not exist. So, how are they the same? How are they the same? Dak Prescott had Kel Moore, the offensive coordinator, the same offensive coordinator. And in 2022, he also missed him games because he got injured. 35 total touchdowns, top 4 with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, more than Kirk Cousins, and Geno Smith. And Jalen Hurts missed multiple games. He threw for 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Geno Smith 21. Okay, he would have thrown for more if he played as many games as Geno Smith in a fraction of the interceptions. It's not that hard to understand. Jalen Hurts easily would have also, I'd already done the math before, would have also easily been within range of top 10 for passing yards as well. So, he would have been within range for top 10 in touchdowns, bottom of the league in interceptions, top 10 in passing yards. He already was top 8 in completion percentage, top 5 in passer rating, 5. We already know all the rushing touchdowns and the rushing yards, so he's literally top 5 and top 10 in all the meaningful stats, because you can see he played 15, but he actually also got knocked out of the game. So that, you're missing that as well. He essentially missed 3 games, and yet he would have been up there. He would have been up there with yards per attempt, top 4 in yards per attempt. I mean, like, I just don't understand, man. I really don't. It's just so absurd. And we say, like, oh, we want to downplay. Multiple things can be true. Yeah, multiple things can be true. Patrick Mahomes is an unbelievable quarterback and is A++. That means that Jalen Hurts is just not that good. Like, I don't understand this logic, because not to mention this season alone, he had this stacked roster. AJ and Devontae missed multiple games. Does that not matter? Does it not matter? that Jalen Hurts missed some games. A.J. Brown missed some games. A.J. Brown played the first game and then missed a whole bunch. And there was games when Jalen Hurts didn't have A.J. or Devontae, and some of his O-line were down and moving all about the one playoff game. They didn't even have their full O-line there. I guess none of that matters. None of that matters. We're just also going to pretend that he didn't play great in both Super Bowls and the NFC Championship game. And he led this offense to the most points per game, most total points scored in NFC Championship game in conference championship game history. It's just all because of his stacked roster, really. And I guess Tyreek Travis Kelce has nothing to do. Andy Reid has nothing to do. Spags has nothing to do with any of this success. Do we know how ridiculous that sounds? Really? I think we do. Yes. It is wildly impressive what Joe Burrow has been able to do with the Cincinnati Bengals. And it is still wildly impressive what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do, what those guys have been able to accomplish in their own individual careers is not fuel to then downplay what Jalen Hurts has done in his career. I love Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is awesome. I just made a whole video comparing Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. He wasn't good enough. He was pressured 18 times. No doubt about it. He was also sacked 7 times. Had a pressure to sack percentage of 38.9. Remember how bad Caleb Williams was with the pressure last season? He actually had a lower pressure to sack percentage. Joe Burrow does deserve he had elite weapons and the defense in that game. Matthew Stafford threw 2 interceptions. OBJ got knocked out of the game. Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, 2 pretty unbelievable wide receivers and a running back that was able to at least rush for 72 yards. Jalen Hurts didn't have that. Jalen Hurts was pressured 6 less times in that Super Bowl, but was sacked at a fraction of the rate. 16.7 pressure to sack percentage in 22, a fraction of the sacks. He dealt with the pressure better, and his defense gave up 30-plus points, more than Joe Burrow's defense. So, did he have a little bit less pressure? Absolutely, undeniably. Were his weapons so much more stacked? Why, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? I don't understand. He got 21 yards out of Kenneth Gainwell, 16 yards out of my Sanders, 8 yards out of Boston Scott. Jalen Hurts had to be the leading rusher. Jalen Hurts had to avoid all the pressures. Jalen Hurts threw for over 300 yards. He threw for more yards and rushed obviously for certainly more yards to Joe Burrow's whopping 3. Joe Burrow had 1 touchdown. Jalen Hurts had a total of 4 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. His defense played worse. I mean, that's just a fact. His defense played worse. They gave up more points. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I don't know if they had a turnover that whole game. 0 turnovers, 2 turnovers. I mean, in 2022, Chad Henne, backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, led a 98-yard touchdown drive that culminated in a wide-open pass to none other than Travis Kelce. But they're just such a bad team that a backup quarterback in a playoff game could enter the game and immediately lead this team to a 98-yard drive. Pretty cool. But yes, Jalen Hurts has had a walk in the park. I could understand if Jalen Hurts did not play great in that Super Bowl. If Jalen Hurts did not play great in multiple Super Bowls, then I could understand. But I mean, I don't know. There's a hierarchy here of the quarterbacks who have been given the greatest gifts, the quarterbacks who have had to do the most with the less. And again, there's arguments for Joe Burrow and whatnot. And again, it's impressive. What Joe Burrow has been able to accomplish has been impressive. I make videos talking about that. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we don't have to create these arguments in ways to downplay what Jalen Hurts has accomplished. And especially you lose the argument when you reference Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy, who were unable to get the job done. That nullifies your point right there. Because if Brock Purdy played better, he does win the Super Bowl. He was not the sole reason why they lost. I don't put that square on his shoulders. Could he have played better? Yeah, he could have. If he played better, they would have won. There you go. Boom. Dak Prescott. His defenses have showed up in playoff games. He failed. That's on him. Straight up. That's on him. Don't know what to tell you. Don't know what to tell you. Patrick Mahomes, impressive to win Super Bowls in 22 and 23. Even all the stuff that I said, still impressive. It's not impressive. What Joe Burrow did is not impressive. What Matthew Stafford did is not impressive. It's all impressive. It's all impressive. But there can be a hierarchy here. There can be a ranking here. And it doesn't automatically mean that Jalen Hurts is at the bottom of this, that we're going to put him in the Trent Dilfer category. I mean, like, that's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And when we have different conversations at different times, different points matter. We're having a Patrick Mahomes and a Joe Burrow conversation. It matters to say that he had a worse O-line. That it matters to say, yeah, he's had two weapons, but he hasn't had as great of a defense, or that the defense, or that he didn't have a run game. It depends on what conversation we're having in any given moment. That's why these things are always kind of moving targets. We can compare Joe Burrow to Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow to Josh Allen, or Josh Allen to Lamar to Mahomes, or Jalen Hurts to Lamar. Like, all of these things can kind of matter. That's why it's never this binary conversation, or where things can feel contradictory, where in one side you can make an argument and say, hey, Joe Burrow is not being supportive of enough. Which is totally true, especially when looking at his career as a whole, but then also be like, well, he still needed to play better in a Super Bowl. That's true too. That is true. But there's also a difference when you also only get one opportunity. Whereas it's kind of like, well, if you're in 3 Super Bowls, I can kind of give you the benefit of the doubt to maybe not be great in every Super Bowl, or, could your team kind of pick up the slack a little bit, or like you can constantly look at these things through so many different lenses. So many different lenses, and that's why it almost is like, okay, what lens are we going to look at this through right now? What conversation are we trying to have? And it can get tricky. I totally concede that. Because, again, I post a video about Joe Burrow and comparing it to Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow's 2024 season to Patrick Mahomes' his 2022 season, and showing just how great Joe Burrow was in 2024. But and the luxuries that Patrick Mahomes has had that Joe Burrow has not had, which makes it really impressive to me that Joe Burrow did get to a Super Bowl. But it could also still be true that Joe Burrow also individually did not do enough to overcome any of these other deficits that Jalen Hurts potentially did in a given moment. And that's not even me saying that Jalen Hurts, that's proof now that Jalen Hurts is better than Joe Burrow. Like, I'm not even making that argument. Sports talk can get complicated. Honestly, it just can. But it's just absurd to use. We think Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and him winning is A++++. Let's say that that's 100% true. How is using him as a reference point as to why what Jalen Hurts did was not that impressive? Was Eli Manning's Super Bowls not impressive? They absolutely positively were. Sorry, Eagles fans. They were, I mean, it was wild. It's absolutely impressive. Undeniably, Kurt Warner's Super Bowl impressive. Brett Favre, John Elway. Like, I don't understand where we get off trying to downplay what Jalen Hurts did. If Jalen Hurts was in the GOAT conversation, this is what I always say. If Jalen Hurts was in the GOAT conversation, then I could understand to a degree. It's why someone like Patrick Mahomes gets extra scrutiny. It's why someone like Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, because people are trying to say, are these the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Is Aaron Rodgers actually better than Tom Brady? Would Peyton Manning have been better than Tom if he was with Bill Bitch? Is Patrick Mahomes better than Tom Brady? Is Tom Brady better than Patrick Mahomes? Then yes. Really, really, really hyper zooming in 1000% makes sense. I say that all the time. All the time. But to try to pretend, like what Jalen Hurts did is somehow just being like, well, he's on the lower level than Geno Smith and Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy. That's insane. That's insanity. That's insanity to say just because Joe Burrow led a team with also 2 elite weapons, like Joe Burrow's lack of success throughout his career, I could tip my hat and say, yeah, the team and this and that. What do you want to do? No consistent run game, not a well-run team, bad defense, all of that. All of that. Just like Colin said in this very segment, multiple things could be true. Exactly. Multiple things can be true. It's going to be very impressive that Joe Burrow led the team. It could be very impressive that Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls. Very impressive. Also very impressive what Jalen Hurts did. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jalen Hurts and his just participation Super Bowl trophy? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.